bring everyone together and kind of sing a song. Okay. The one with the dreadlocks, and then you. Yeah. And everything's good. You're gonna help define the issue, right? Okay, great. Okay.
This is what I'm gonna say. Do I read it?
No, I think you're great. I love it when you speak.
Okay. I just want to make sure I was understanding. Thanks for coming. Of course. And singing for us. And I'm just gonna kind of get out of the way.
There is God alike and warlike and strong like only some show. There is sad alike and mad alike and had alike, we know. But by my light be I spirit, and by my heart be I woman. By my eyes be I open, and by my hands be I whole. They say slowly brings the least shine, but no matter how slow I walk, I leave traces, empty spaces, and doors are locked. But by my light be I spirit, and by my heart be I woman. By my eyes be I open, and by my hands be I whole. Listen, there are waters hid beneath us. In a well we'll find them still. I'll take you to them. You take your young ones, and may they take their own in turn. And by your light be you spirits. Ooh. And by your heart be you human. By your eyes be you open, and by your hands be you whole. We are one. Will the next do once? And I hope we choose it well, though we try hard. Some will fall prey to the jaded jewels, but still, by your light be you spirits, and by your heart be you human. By your eyes be you open, and by your hands be you whole. By your hands be you whole. By your hands be you whole.
Well, I don't see how I'm supposed to follow that. So I'm not going to. We're just going to do something different. Okay, my name's Corinne McSherry, and I'm the Intellectual Property Director for the Electronic Frontier Foundation, and I want to thank you all very, very much for coming out tonight. So we're here tonight to talk about the future of the internet, but I want to start by talking about the very recent past. After years of court battles, just a few short months ago, the Federal Communications Commission, just a few short months ago, the future of the internet seemed to be in grave danger because the Federal Communications Commission had come out with a new set of so-called net neutrality rules that were not about net neutrality at all. In fact, they would have given the Commission's blessing to decidedly non-neutral practices, like special access charges and the creation of fast lanes, which would leave many others in the slow lane. That's how it works by definition. The large service providers were fine with these rules. They weren't going to challenge them, which is kind of a sign right there. But the rest of us were not. Many folks, nonetheless, suggested that, it's time to cut our losses, and let's just take what we can get. This is going to be the best we're going to get. Let's move on. It's just too hard to get the FCC to issue real rules that actually might stand up in court. But then something happened. Something awesome happened. Almost 4 million people spoke out, and they said, we aren't going to settle. We want real rules that really protect our internet because it is our internet, and we need help. We demanded that the FCC change course now, and issue real, targeted rules that would actually protect the open internet. A huge coalition of people formed, including venture capitalists, technologists, the founders of the internet, activists of all stripes, civil rights leaders, public interest groups of all kinds. Lately, we've been joined by Ford and UPS. Who knew? And lots of ordinary citizens who just felt like it was time to speak out and protect their internet. And you know what happened? The world changed. The FCC heard us loud and clear. Legislators heard us loud and clear. And last week, we learned that the president heard us loud and clear. Even better, we learned that the president was willing to speak up and join his voice to ours. So now, the FCC is going back to the drawing board. That is real progress. Compared to where we were just 4 or 5 months ago, it's astonishing, and it's exciting. But we're not done. We're a long, long way from done. Team Cable's just getting started. They will be lobbying very hard over the next few months to try to persuade the FCC that it shouldn't have gone back to the drawing board, that doing that was too scary, that actually creating real internet rules is too hard, that they'll lose in court. That's what they're going to try to do. So we have to answer. Now, why did we all get into this battle? I think it's important to sort of focus on what this is about. The reason we all got into this battle is because we know that an open, a neutral, a fast internet has helped spark an explosion of free expression, innovation, and political change. Internet-based services help us organize. They help us learn. They help us find jobs, healthcare. They help us organize for political change, file our tax returns, connect to our loved ones, and contribute to our common culture. We are all internet users. We are all providers of content, and we all need a neutral internet. Now, the internet became that tool because it was built on principles of openness and neutral handling of data. And those principles were once reinforced by a competitive market for internet access. But times have changed. Today, more and more, in the United States, high-speed internet access is controlled by just a few companies who have begun to abuse their quasi-monopoly. Now, the FCC, let's be clear, cannot fix this problem by itself. We need a bucket of solutions, including promoting more competition so that people can vote with their wallets. But the FCC does have a role to play, and it's time for the agency to step up and get that role right. Now, if it's going to do its job correctly, it needs to hear from folks outside of DC. It needs to get outside the bubble. So that's why we're here today. It needs to hear from people around the country, and especially it needs to hear from people in the Bay Area. We are the birthplace for all kinds of innovation, not just tech innovation, certainly that's part of it, but we're innovators in art, culture, politics. We're leaders out here on the West Coast, and we have a special voice in this debate. So I'm really glad that you're all here to speak for our Bay Area, to share our voice on this incredibly important topic. But we're not here to hear me speak much more, but rather we've got some great people here who are going to share their thoughts about net neutrality and about the future of the internet. And I want to start by introducing, with very great pleasure, former FCC Commissioner Michael Copps. For those of you who don't know Commissioner Copps, he spent a decade at the FCC advocating for, this is a quote, media that reflects the needs of the people. Sounds good, right? That's what we all need. He's now leading the Media and Democracy Initiative at Common Cause, and he has been one of the strongest voices for Title II reclassification in the net neutrality debate for many years now. He has been speaking truth to power for longer than many of us have been involved in this, and he knows it well. And so we are incredibly happy to have him here with us today.
Wow, thank you very much. What a fantastic night this has already been. I've been to a lot of public hearings around the country, probably close to 100, I guess, since the time I started at the Federal Communications Commission, but this might be one for the books tonight. I love commitment to a cause, and seeing all those folks out in a driving rainstorm tonight advocating for a cause, advocating for free speech, advocating for an open internet is something really I wish all of America could see, if only we had a mainstream media that would cover events like this. And I particularly wish my friends at the FCC could see this too, but they have steadfastly refused to get outside of Washington, D.C. as a body, come to San Francisco, go around the country, and talk to people who actually have to live with the consequences of the decisions they make. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but first I want to say thank you. Thank you to San Francisco, thanks to the Electronic Frontier Foundation, Free Press, Media Alliance, Center for Media Justice, my own group, Common Cause. Special thank you to Councilwoman Rebecca Kaplan, who is here this evening, President Pro Tem of the Oakland City Council, and for all the support she has given to open communications and America's right to connect. Thank you to our speakers, our panelists. Most of all, thanks to you who came out on this stormy night to argue for something and speak in behalf of something that you really and truly believe in. The state is home, as you remarked, to a long line of progressives who have been in the vanguard of American reform through the generations. You can go back, Hiram Johnson, Dolores Huerta, Earl Warren, Harvey Milk, the list goes on, into our own time, champions like my good friend Anna Eshoo, who I wish yesterday had been able to overcome seniority and take the ranking membership of the Senate Commerce Committee. That would have been really good for our cause and really good for San Francisco. Other leaders like Doris Matsui, who's been in the vanguard of this, folks who recognize that change doesn't come from Washington, D.C. Real change comes from the righteous insistence of everyday people at the grassroots of this country. It has never been corporate influence peddlers who made our union more perfect. It's always been folks like these, folks like you, who expanded voter suffrage and civil rights and women's rights and labor rights and the minimum wage and disability rights and environmental rights and LGBT rights. And in all these great battles of reform through the annals of our history, the forces arrayed against us have always been formidable. You had the 19th century robber barons and their latter-day copycats like the Koch brothers, Wall Street's titans of banking, special interest hired help roaming the halls of Congress from all sorts of different industries. But when the hour of action came, when the grassroots was united, the people rallied. As a renowned community organizer who went on to become president once said, we rallied in Seneca, we rallied in Selma, and we rallied in Stonewall. And now we have to rally again. We have to rally for many causes, like expanded opportunity for all, immigration, saving our planet, public education. But to win any of these fights, to win any of them, we must first stop internet gatekeepers and media monopolists and keep them from utterly decimating our already dumbed down civic dialogue in this country of ours. Because if they can unilaterally decide what news we can hear and what news we can't, who can advocate online and who can't, who can get the word out about rallies like we heard tonight, this one or the other rally that joined us earlier this evening, and if they can money allies, if they can decide whether online fast lanes are going to become just the playground of the few rather than the common right of all of us, then we're in real trouble of this country, in this country. And we will not be able, and I really and truly believe this, we won't be able to solve any of the problems that this country faces right now. We're in deep trouble across a wide spectrum of problems. You all have issues that are central to you, whether it's education or jobs or opportunity. That's wonderful. They should be your big issue, but none of them are going anywhere until we first get this issue right of our communications infrastructure and our news and information. And as it is right now, we're not getting there. We can't do it with the media we have, and we can't do it with an internet cut short of its amazing potential. And that's about what we're on the verge of doing, taking history's most dynamic communications tool ever, which should be ushering us into a golden age of communications, and turning it over to the gatekeepers and the industry consolidators. And didn't we see radio go down that road? Didn't we see television go down that road? Didn't we deliver to you? I was the only commissioner who voted against the Comcast-NBCU merger a few years ago. At least I thought, well, that would occupy them for a while. They're gone. They're out of here. But 2-3 years later, they're back with another $45 billion to buy the second largest cable company. It's not just cable they're buying broadband, they're buying content, they're buying distribution, they're buying the whole ball of wax. That's because that's what they want. They want that whole ball of wax. And that issue is closely related to the issue of net neutrality. As you all know, the FCC is in the midst of writing open internet rules. I met with the chairman last week, 8 days ago, last Wednesday. He had not made up his mind. He knows the president has spoken. He knows that 4 million Americans have written in to the FCC advocating for an open internet, Title II, net neutrality as it's called. I won't go into the details of that. We can talk about it later if you want. But his mind is not made up, and he's still looking at some of these hybrid solutions. And I think deep down he really believes some of these hybrid solutions are workable, and I think they're just destined for more confusion, more litigation, more delay. We're already delaying now the FCC voting. They were going to vote in December. Now it's going to be January or February or March. And we don't have, time is not on our side on this issue. Time is not on our side. The political environment is only going to get worse. We've got the wind at our back now. We have the president who has spoken out. That was a very welcome statement that he made, the 4 million Americans. But we've got to really keep the pressure on, or we're going to lose this wonderful tool that allows us to organize, allows us to speak, allows us to listen. It's already under fire. It's already lost a lot. Does anyone in this audience want internet gatekeepers who are going to censor your online access? Does anybody want fast lanes just for the 1%? No. Does anybody think Comcast needs to grow 1 inch bigger? No. Well, me neither, but to keep those things from happening, we have to act now. The good news is we're making progress. We have never been closer to victory. But as you said, we still got a long ways to go, and the forces arrayed against us, the big money, the lawyers, the lobbyists are ramping up, and it's going to be a titanic struggle. So the commission, I think, is capable of doing the right thing, but it's not going to do the right thing unless it hears even more from us. So that's what we need to do tonight. And just as it's not a red state, it's not a blue state issue. There was a poll out last week, some of you may have seen, where it said 85% of Republican voters are against a fast lane, slow lane internet. I don't think the folks that represent them in Washington, Ted Cruz and that crowd running around in hysteria in Capitol Hill, really understand that maybe they're a little bit out of touch with their base. But their base needs to tell them that now. And we need to encourage them to do that. Something you can do right here tonight. I think we've got some organizers in this room. We have some FCC comment sheets. If you can sign on to those, it would be great. We will make sure that they get to the FCC, and we will keep that pressure on. If you leave here with one thought in mind, and I'll end with this, it's just to repeat that every issue we care about depends upon getting our media right and keeping our internet open. Reform in this country depends upon media reform. And real democracy depends upon media democracy. And together, we must win this fight, and together I believe we can win this fight. And I thank you all for coming out tonight and helping prove that that's how the people are thinking. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now I'd like to introduce Rebecca Kaplan, who is the Council President Pro Tem for Oakland. She's been serving since 2008 and been heavily involved in this issue. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. Make sure everybody gets their good stretching and warming up in after that impressive show of solidarity in the rain. Good job, everybody. Thank you. My name is Rebecca Kaplan, and I have the honor and privilege to serve as the elected representative of the entire city of Oakland as a council member at large. And being elected in 2008, now several new council members have joined since me, so I'm now one of the more senior members of the council, but I'm still the youngest person on the Oakland City Council. And I did attend MIT as an undergraduate and have been following and involved in the work of the Electronic Frontier Foundation and other allies for a free and open internet since I was 16 years old. And it is amazing to see people on the corporate right saying things like, oh, they don't want government involved in the internet, which is sort of like saying they don't want government involved in Medicare, which is another thing the right has been saying in recent years. And a little bit of history they might not be aware of is that before people called it the internet, it was called ARPANET, the Advanced Research Project Agency of the federal government. Yes, our taxpayer dollars at work. Whether or not it was Al Gore personally, it was in fact the government that invented the internet. And it was government-funded projects that invented the internet. And so this has been our commons. This is our commons. This is our free speech. And imagine if people were talking on a town square, you know, hanging out on a town square as in days past and talking about issues and debating politics. And imagine somebody saying, well, if you're a millionaire talking in the town square, you're allowed to shout. But if you're a poor person talking in the town square, you have to whisper. Could you imagine that being considered acceptable? That is what is being proposed. That is what those who want fast lanes for those who can pay are proposing. In the current era, the internet is our town square. It is our commons. And to allow for the 1% to be allowed to shout while the poor are told they have to whisper is unacceptable and undemocratic and in violation of our constitutional principles of free speech. And so I'm very proud and pleased to have the opportunity to stand with all of you, as well as the many millions throughout the nation, to say that we demand a fair and open and neutral internet. And that we understand, as you said, and thank you for making this point, the reason to fight for net neutrality isn't just about the internet. It's about fighting for all the issues that we care about that will be stifled if our free speech is denied. What if, pro-gay internet emails were blocked and only anti-gay internet emails were allowed because they paid more? Right? It could happen. And another issue that's very up right now and very tied to wealth, what if those of us who are trying to fight for a sensible and sustainable climate and a planet that will survive, what if those messages were blocked and only the Koch brothers were allowed to talk about coal and nobody else, right? So this is an issue not only for the internet, this is an issue for environmental sustainability and social justice and for freedom of speech. And, the city that I have the honor to represent in Oakland has long been a leader on a great many issues, including being home to the first racially integrated labor unions in the country over 100 years ago, and currently is home to the most artists, the most lesbians, and the most churches per capita of any city in California, and we love it that way. But it is also a place where we understand what happens when disparities are allowed to persist, and where there have been a strong history of people speaking up against the mistreatment of people based on wealth and privilege. And so not only for myself as a longtime internet user and internet activist, but also on behalf of the people I represent, that this is an issue of justice and equality as well as an issue of a functioning internet. And so I really appreciate the strength of this movement, and to know the power of 4 million people and of our president's welcome, I guess he might call it evolving, on this issue and speaking out. And hopefully the FCC will come to greater and greater wisdom as they hear from us and as we continue to lift up our voices to make clear that we will not allow people to be silenced based on wealth, and that is not what America stands for. The Constitution says freedom of speech, and this is about freedom of speech and so many issues that would not have been advanced if the internet and our voices were allowed to be stifled. And so we unite today to say to the FCC, see the light, hear our voices, understand that this is something that is important for our democracy, that we are not going to allow the internet to be divided up into haves and have-nots. We are not going to allow freedom of speech to be stifled in our nation. Thank you so much for having me here. Good evening.
The one thing that's kind of funny is that we've been hearing a lot that the commissioner is trying to find a way to split the baby. Maybe he should read that story again. I don't want to split the baby because, anyway. So let me next introduce Chris Whitman. He's the senior counsel for telecommunications and consumer protection at the California Public Utilities Commission, but I believe he's here in his personal capacity, which means it'll be even more fun.
Thank you, Corinne. It is an honor to be here with Commissioner Copps, who was really your champion at the FCC. There are precious few of them, and he is one of them. And with Ms. Kaplan, wherever she is gone, there she is. Amazing to hear a public office holder speak with that nuance about what the history of the internet and DARPA and so forth. So I'd like to start with a point that Commissioner Copps made about information is the first issue. I have been saying this since I got turned on to this issue, which occurred in the late 70s when I lived in West Berlin, Germany. and watched television there and couldn't believe the variety of voices, the heterogeneity of information, stuff I'd never heard before, and wondering why U.S. media was so narrow and vanilla and small. So pursuing that has led to a 30-year career in telecommunications, the last 13 of which I've been at the California Public Utilities Commission. And as Corinne says, I'm here in my personal capacity tonight. But those 30 years have really taught me a lot about the nuts and bolts of the network. One of the things I do is interconnection disputes between carriers, and you really see how the people with significant market power push their agenda. So first thing, I'll be a little bit geeky here because I think this is a smart crowd. One, net neutrality is not about regulating the internet. Everybody got that? It's about the wires that support the internet and the non-discrimination rules on those wires. As we told the Ninth Circuit in a recent argument, it's about the telecom substrate. As I tell my friends over beers, it's about the wires, stupid. The internet became what it is today on the back of the public switch telephone network. The question is whether the non-discrimination and fairness rules, which applied to that network, that wired network throughout the 20th century, are going to continue in the 21st century. And you read the editorials, oh, you don't want 20th century, 19th century rules. Well, those rules work pretty well. As Ms. Kaplan said, the internet became what it is today under those rules. And it was only a decision in 2002 when the Bushies got into government, they made a beeline for the FCC and they got this ridiculous decision, which is really the mortal sin of communications history, of recent communications history, that said somehow transport between point A and B wasn't really transport. It wasn't telecommunications, it was an information service. Even that was too much even for Justice Scalia, but we won't go there. My core proposition, my elevator speech are three things. One, the internet is an essential service. I think everybody in this room gets that. Two, there are bottlenecks on the internet. Just ask anyone trying to subscribe to high-speed broadband. Very few firms control the majority of the last mile. And three, because those few firms carry content to and from 300 million Americans, there has to be non-discrimination rules, what we call common carriage or Title II. So finally, my third point is San Francisco does have a dog in this fight. I appeared in front of the San Francisco board 20 years ago when Tom Amiano was a young supervisor asking questions about the cable franchise and suggesting that maybe we wanted to put in public conduit every time we dug up the sewers. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. That's a tragedy that did not happen 20 years ago. So to the city of San Francisco, I'd say it's about the wires under your street, the poles along your public rights-of-way. Google wants to come in and use those poles, by the way. It's about the general fairness for consumers. The problem is that the cable and telco incumbents are not very transparent, and if left to their own devices, not necessarily fair. Title II gives the FCC and the states, and by extension the cities, an important tool to achieve accountability, fairness, and transparency. Thank you.
Okay, so rather than popping up every minute to introduce every next speaker, I'm just going to run through our next lineup. We have an awesome group of experts, advocates, technologists, and city officials that have been involved in various aspects of the net neutrality bucket of solutions. So just to run through them quickly, we have, and if you guys could stand up in this rough order if you when you take your turns. So we have Amy Sawney, Director of Outreach at the Oakland Public Libraries, and also she's on the board of directors for the Center for Media Justice. We have Tim Posar. He's director of IT at Fandor, which is an online movie streaming website, and he's a longtime municipal and community fiber advocate in the Bay Area. So he knows that issue and has been educating me a lot on that issue recently. We have Anna Montez, who is Director of Organizing at the Utility Reform Network, or TURN. She's been a consumer advocate for 12 years as Director of Technology and Consumer Education at the Latino Issues Forum. We also have Dane Jasper. He's CEO of Sonic.net, which is a full-service internet provider local to the Bay Area. It's been operating since 1994, and my service provider. Jane, I just handpicked all these people. We have Jay Nath. Jay Nath became San Francisco's first innovation officer after establishing the nation's first open source government software policy and authored San Francisco's open data legislation. And then we're going to conclude with, I'm going to pronounce this name wrong, Tao Nguyen? Okay. A musician who comes to us via the Future of Music Coalition, an artist and activist with the Kill Rock Stars label here in the Bay Area. So this is all the Bay Area speaking.
Oh, good evening, everyone. It's really exciting to see a packed house. So I was that first name on that list. My name is Amy Sunny. I'm with the Oakland Public Library. I'm also here tonight as one of 57. Thank you for representing Oakland, Councilmember Kaplan. I'm also here tonight as one of 57,000 members of the American Library Association. And our colleagues in higher education who recently united to say that preserving an open internet is essential to our nation's freedom of speech, educational achievement, and economic vitality. I urge you to look up the principles we put forward in July, but more importantly, I'm here tonight speaking for those we serve. Job seekers, parents with children, business owners, adults seeking literacy help or the GED, scholars, artists, activists, musicians. Why? Because net neutrality is critical for intellectual and academic freedom in the digital age. Paid prioritization, as we all know, will curtail these freedoms. Consider the millions of job seekers that we help every day. How will the woman I helped last week, searching for a job near her daughter's school, find the local employer who's looking for her? The sites we used were not big box sites, but the only companies that might be able to afford this lightning fast internet fast lane are big box stores across town, 2 bus routes away. Consider the impact on health literacy. If unbiased consumer information from Medline Plus, which I used more than a dozen times this week, lags behind information on websites hosted by big pharmaceutical companies. Consider the impact on school students. What will happen to the online homework help that's so vital for after-school programs these days and for libraries? Libraries make these resources available to 42 million school students. Paid prioritization will hurt cash-strapped libraries and higher education, leading to the loss of other vital services. When 44% of libraries nationwide have reduced hours of operation, including libraries like Oakland, our online services are more important than ever. But we are certain that pay-to-play will increase costs for libraries and for end users. Finally, and most importantly, paid prioritization will compound the digital divide. Closing the divide, we all know, is about more than hardware and wires. It's about fairness. It's about the quality and choice of information that all users have at their fingertips. It's about the content they create together and that they share. It's about their participation in educational, economic, and civic opportunities. So I want to tell you about Wendy. Wendy is a student I've worked with for years. She's now the first in her family to attend college at UC Santa Cruz. I asked her this week via Facebook, which supports net neutrality, what the open internet meant for her. The internet has changed my whole life, she said, from the role it played in helping her immigrant family connect to home, to them sharing it with their entire neighborhood for years, to the scholarships she found to attend college and the community media project that she worked on that helped to boost her college application. If sites were blocked or slowed down, she said, it would be devastating for families like mine. She told me how her mother sacrificed necessities to pay for their internet connection because it was a literal lifeline for them. It was not for the hardware and the equipment, it was for the connection to the people, the diversity, and the relevance of the information. Now that we have seen the power of the open internet for the common good, we must protect it as a Title II resource. This is not a partisan issue. It is about the FCC doing the right thing, protecting the power of the digital commons so that people can connect with each other, with jobs, and with education equally. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tim Pozar. I'm Director of Streaming Operations for a company called Fandor. Fandor is an independent film company. We stream films that are particularly independent films and foreign language films. We were started in 2009. Fandor and its communities of film lovers are connected over thousands of films and that span generations, genres, and decades. Fandor is particularly notable in the film community as it supports the world's best filmmakers by sharing half of what we gain back to the filmmakers. Network neutrality is critically important to a small startup like Fandor. It's also important to large companies like Netflix, Hulu, Facebook, among others, for them to be able to have a service that is of use to the public and their subscribers. The difference is that larger companies likely have more resources to address the problem, and startups like Fandor's will be left behind. This means that the future Facebooks, Fandors, and Amazons, if you don't mind us putting my Fandor in with them, will have less of a chance to be successful. New products and services will cost more, as there will be an additional overhead charged by the last mile providers for those fast lanes. In some cases, new ideas just won't be funded, as a barrier to entry supplied by the fast lanes means that funding will be less likely to happen. They'll question the viability because of that. This means that less ideas will be tried out and innovation will be reduced. Network neutrality means that we continue to have this wonderful petri dish that growing ideas and trying them out. The fact that we've had companies actively restrict network traffic based on the type of application where traffic is coming from and means that this is not an abstraction. This is not just, it's not going to happen. It's only going to happen in the future. For instance, Comcast actively restricted BitTorrent traffic and had to have their hands slapped on it in order for them to be able to merge with NBC. And they had to have a restriction placed on them to say, you can't do this in the future. It's just been revealed that Cogent themselves, by themselves, they actually revealed this, that in February and March of this year, implemented traffic prioritization that slowed down traffic from companies like Netflix. In both cases, these providers were trying to address the problem of over-congested networks, but what happened was the end users were prevented from using specific services and application. Fandor wants to see a network where consumers vote by using the product and not be a bottleneck by the internet service providers because they can create a new revenue stream by charging for paid prioritization. Fandor sees a number of solutions to this problem. There isn't just one silver bullet, although the most effective one would be the reclassifications of internet access providers under Title II rules. A second thing that we've told the FCC in our comments to see that the FCC clears the way for municipalities to deploy carrier-neutral fiber networks. Much of the reason that we're running into this problem is the fact that there was a government-supported monopoly for telephone and cable deployment. This has been deregulated to some degree, but to create a carrier-neutral network in communities, local municipalities need to be supported and deploy that. There are currently 20 states that prevent you from doing that. We'd like to see the FCC strike down those rules. The third thing we've suggested to the FCC is that they have a condition to the funds that they oversee, such as E-rate, where monies can only be used for carrier and network neutral infrastructure. These last two suggestions are fairly easy for the FCC to implement. Please make a stand and let your voice be heard at the FCC for network neutrality.
Good evening. And I want to thank you for this opportunity today to speak out. I also want to apologize that I'm reading because I really want to stay to 3 minutes, and I'm famous for going over the 3 minutes. My name is Ana Montes, and I've spent the last 20 years on what I call working on the digital front lines with other communities, and in particular, communities of color. I'm currently the organizing director for TURN, the Utility Reform Network, past director of telecommunications and technology at Latino Issues Forum, and former network administrator of LatinoNet. What I want to say today is that no one group can afford to be left behind or slowed down. Internet speeds, cost, consumer protections, and content are all issues that need to be addressed in order for individuals to maximize the potential uses of computers and internet services. This isn't just a matter of providing broadband access so that people can surf the web and be entertained by Netflix or YouTube. I want to share with you a couple of quotes that I've picked up over the years. Kids are learning incredibly fast, perhaps double what they would have learned without the computers. My kid is about to begin first grade, and he already knows how to write his name. He wants to write letters. He can write the names of all the members of the family. And for me, I couldn't even do all of those things until I was in the 3rd grade. This is a quote from a Spanish-speaking parent in 2002. As a result of our child being adept at the computer, because he builds websites at school and even knows students with their own websites, it's changed our game plan for his immediate future. This is from an English-speaking parent in 2002. In 1994, the nation's first online community-based nonprofit network was launched, LatinoNet. LatinoNet was created to connect educators, community-based organizations, activists, and individuals. We created content, distributed modems, computers, provided training at no cost to community-based organizations all over the nation. We even partnered with some companies to create free or low-cost telephone line hookups for access to the internet. In 1999, Latino Issues Forum recognized, along with the Greenlining Institute, that certain segments of the population had different obstacles, which would prevent them from being able to fully participate in the technology era. We knew that low and fixed income populations would find the new technologies too expensive and inaccessible. Most importantly, we knew that children would be impacted, so we created 2 model community technology projects, one in an urban community and one in a rural community. We provided training, equipment, and internet access to teachers, parents, students, to create a total learning environment. This was in 1999 to 2005. For many low or fixed income communities, many of the same barriers remain today: cost, relevant content, training, etc. We knew that trying to catch up would be a lengthy process which would continue to be exacerbated by cost and access. Pay-per-play rules would allow phone and cable internet companies to create a 2-tiered internet or fast lane for those who can pay for it, and a dirt road for those who cannot. We cannot create standards that will allow phone and cable internet service providers to discriminate both technically and financially against individual customers, fledgling online companies, independent media outlets, nonprofit organizations, or anyone with a website. The internet is a service that many consumers rely upon for commerce, communications, information, education, health, safety, and is as important as water or electricity, and has become a staple in our lives and the economy. However, connecting to the internet is still too expensive. Consumers with complaints have nowhere to turn to, and there continues to be a digital divide. A key element of adoption is an open internet under Title II, ensuring no discrimination in terms of access or provision of content. If disadvantaged communities are also disadvantaged in terms of internet access, they will be less inclined to adopt. The FCC needs to designate broadband providers as common carriers so that they can be held accountable to the public interest. Don't set us back another 20 years. Support Title II.
Good evening. I'm Dane Jasper, CEO of Sonic.net. Thank you. I appreciate that support. When I heard my name earlier and I heard a couple little cat calls there, I knew I was in for it. Sonic provides a competitive internet access option in San Francisco and beyond. We offer competitive wireline telephone and internet access service over copper and fiber to businesses and consumers. I'm a gatekeeper, it seems. Though I've never thought of ourselves that way. But despite that position, we are for network neutrality. The health of the internet ecosystem is critical for all of us. The root cause of the neutrality issue is a lack of competition. And I'm hopeful that as a competitor, Sonic and others like us will eventually destroy the market power that large gatekeepers wield against sources of content today. But until that happens, regulators need to take action to assure that all carriers behave as Sonic does today, treating all internet content equally. No fast lanes, no paid prioritization, and no blocking. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jay Nath. I'm the Mayor's Chief Innovation Officer. And in my years of doing public service, I've been advocating for open data, for open source software in government, and for open government in general. So thank you. So I'm really honored here to be here in City Hall with all of you, lending my voice and the mayor's voice around a very important topic, an open internet. And so when you think about San Francisco and the amazing communities that we have, the diverse communities that we have, whether it's the technology sector, whether it's artists, all of you depend on an open internet. And this diverse community that's here today, librarians, artists, activists, technologists, entrepreneurs, all of you have come together today to make sure that your voice is being heard in this critical national debate from San Francisco. In fact, more people from San Francisco weighed in on net neutrality in those 4 million comments than almost any other region in the country. That's because the diverse and vibrant communities of San Francisco depend on an open internet. The internet is no longer a luxury, it's a necessity, and we know that. It's necessary for students to do their schoolwork, to prepare for the Common Core, to help them gain the digital literacy skills that they need for the jobs of the 21st century. We need the internet for access to healthcare information, for applying for jobs, for staying in touch with family and friends, and for organizing like we are here today. We recognize that an open internet is essential to our diverse communities. Our mayor supports net neutrality rules that will protect our open internet by reclassifying broadband as a Title II telecommunication service. And we hope that the FCC will agree with that. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name's Tao Win, and I am a musician, and I live here in San Francisco. And I'm so glad to be here with you, and in such a robust effort to rally and to preserve the internet, to keep it as open and free as the day it was delivered by government storks. I make my living as a musician, and I have done so for almost a decade now, to my entire family's surprise and bemusement. And I've had such great fortune due in no small part to the internet. I came up in the days of MySpace, when you uploaded your music and information to the site and it became your business card in your portfolio. Without it, I would not have been connected to my management or my first record label, without whom I would not have been able to build a career touring, without which I wouldn't be here in front of you. I would probably be at my mom's house in Virginia. And as the years have passed and the music industry has taken this very well-documented twists and turns, it is plain to see now more than ever that no musician can release a record, reach listeners, and grow a fan base without the ability to share their work unimpeded on the internet. Just a quick sight into the industry, no one buys music anymore. I don't know if you guys have heard. But as I've been touring this last release for almost 2 years now, and we've thankfully been able to play to increasingly larger audiences. This is again due largely to the wide sweep of the internet and the sharing of music and videos and all platforms on which they've resided. Of course, the concern strikes me that for our next release, downloadable songs, videos, whatever intriguing content we've come up with, and whatever platforms they find, it might end up bottlenecked or relegated to the gutters of the internet highway because the trajectory of my career does not benefit Comcast or Verizon. What happens to content that is made by anyone, that is most of us, who is not affiliated with a provider powerhouse? When we threaten the freedom of the internet, we threaten the current and future livelihoods of hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. I don't know of anyone in any creative discipline who could make a living without developing, sharing, and promoting their work on the internet. Even if you've told us that internet trolls would somehow only end up in the proposed slow lane, thereby preventing them from ever leaving a mean-spirited comment on, say, random example, a music video that I shot all day long on the Bay Bridge, and it actually is really hard work. And we would still be for net neutrality because we are for the principle of the thing, and slopes get so slippery. The reality of an internet parceled and run by cable and media giants is dire and surreal and nearly upon us. Surely a terrible plan with greedy roots could not overtake us by as early as January, but I've heard such reports circulated. As a musician who is so grateful for her occupation, as a small business owner who relies on and rightly expects a fair game, I too urge us forward. I take heart in all efforts to preserve net neutrality, how they sing and hearken to the greater underpinnings of economic and social justice. For ourselves and for the economic and cultural viability of our communities, may we fiercely protect the internet for the public utility it is, that it may enrich and be enriched by all equally. Thank you.
To get into the public testimony. Now, what we heard here was some people that are some experts. We're going to hear from a couple more, but the next phase of this moment, this town square that we've created here today, is about you, right? It's about you. Because the entire debate that's been happening about the internet has left you out of it. All of the previous commissions that have debated big questions about the internet have gone all over this country to hear from the public. But this time, they failed to listen to you. The biggest decision that will be made in this moment, probably in this century, about the new communication system that we're all dealing with, and they don't want to talk to you? I think there's something wrong with that. What about you? You feel me? So we decided, oh well, we will just talk to ourselves. We will talk to each other because that's what a democracy does. Gives us the opportunity to participate and talk to each other. Now, tonight, I would be remiss if I did not mention that tonight President Obama made a speech. Anybody heard that speech? Can I hear you? Did you hear the speech? Mm-hmm. And in that speech about immigration, he said, we were all strangers once. We were all strangers once. Now what the internet does is it allows us to not be strangers no more. See, because I can talk to somebody in Mexico, irrespective of borders, because you know what? There's no borders on the internet. The borders are not militarized on the internet. I can talk to anybody I want to in Paris, France, in Hong Kong, in El Salvador. I can talk to anybody I want to and they can talk to me. That is the one country in which there are no borders. Now, wouldn't it be beautiful if we could all live like that? We can, as long as we protect what we have, right? That's one of the things we can do. So, President Obama made his speech. Guess what happened? Anybody know? Nobody know? The gatekeepers kept it off. Hey, speak on it, bruh. Speak on it. CBS? ABC? NBC? They said no. We're not going to air it live. We're not going to air it live. They refused to interrupt their regularly scheduled programming to air the President of the United States. Do you feel me? Let me tell you something about fascism. Can I talk to you about that for a minute? Can I talk to you about fascism for a minute? It is actually the combination when corporations and government have a relationship that is too close. What are we talking about? We're talking about fascism. We're talking about a situation in which corporations, in some cases, have more power than the government. Can I say it again? More power than the government. Refuse to air the President of the United States in a live speech. I just want you to sit with that for a minute. Okay? What does that mean? What kind of country do you live in? What kind of country do you want to live in? Can we talk about it? Are you ready for some public testimony? I don't feel you. Are you ready for some public testimony? All right. I'm feeling it too. I'm feeling ready. Now, I have my paper. I did crumple it up and put it in my pocket, so let me just make sure. The first up. Now, let me tell you something about public testimony. We love to talk. We do, because we don't get enough time to talk. I love to talk to you. I could sit up here all day. Would you be happy with that? Yes, you would. Don't lie to me. You don't want to hear from me. But I think you would probably want me to temper, you know what I'm saying, attend to time. So what I'm going to ask is for those who come up, first of all, let me just give my sister a hug. Come on. This is my sister right here, Ana Montez. Now, I want to tell y'all something real quick. I know we got to get on the public testimony, but, and no, I have not been drinking or smoking weed. I'm just very happy. Okay? You know, my sister at Turn, my sister at Color of Change back there, my sister Jennifer Johns. I want y'all to look around because the reality is that one of the things the internet does is it allows us to have a room that is more diverse than this one. Can I get a witness? Yes, we want that. We want that. And that's one of the things that we're going to keep trying to do. So back to the public testimony. Thank you. I love you. And that's my board member, Amy Sunny, librarian right there. Can we give a hand? Yes. All our experts. Okay. Moving on, I'm going to be more serious from this point forward. Our first, because you know, I'm not a comedian, not really. I'm just an amateur. Our first person up, who's going to be brief and beautiful and bold, is Dave Steer, Mozilla #1. Can I get #1 up to the mic? Up to the mic, brother, yes.
God, I can't believe I have to follow you. Okay, all right. But I can't rhyme, so you were awesome. Okay, so my name is Dave Steer. I'm the Director of Advocacy for the Mozilla Foundation.
Yes!
I saw somebody with a DNT hat over there, so thanks for wearing that hat. That's pretty awesome. So I'm here to urge Californians everywhere to join the fight to protect net neutrality. Mozilla is a nonprofit organization. We're headquartered in California. We have an office here in San Francisco. Our mission is to promote openness, innovation, and opportunity on the web. We advance this through products like Firefox, which hundreds of millions of people throughout the world use, and through fellows programs that place people to fight for the web. Net neutrality is so important to our community and to the health of the web. Just imagine a world where a small handful of powerful companies decide what information is available and accessible on the internet. Or just imagine a world where you can no longer access your favorite website just because it's not part of a suite of content offered in your area. Protecting net neutrality is about protecting the core ethos of the internet, where anyone can make anything and share it quickly with the world. It's about standing up to those with power with a core assertion. The web is not owned by any one of us. It's shared by all of us. That's right. That's why the public spoke clearly earlier this year with 4 million comments to the Federal Communications Commission. So I'm here to say that we at Mozilla believe clearly that the FCC must protect net neutrality and that its authority must come from Title II. Put simply, full Title II reclassification is the cleanest, simplest path forward.
That's right.
Anything less than these strong rules, these strong enforceable rules against blocking, discrimination, and fast lanes built on Title II is simply unacceptable. So we call on, on all Californians to help save the internet as we know it by joining with the community and urging the FCC to adopt strong enforceable rules to protect net neutrality. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. All right. And now, first of all, can we give another round? Yes. And I appreciate Mozilla for really standing strong right now for Title II. Thank you so much. Now I'd like to invite up Paul Goodman from Greenlining. Number two, Paul Goodman. What's up, brother? How you doing? I love Greenlining. And remember, Paul, you see Tatiana back there? That's it.
All right, I might be able to do this in 60. Let's see what happens. Good evening. My name's Paul Goodman. I work for the Greenlining Institute. We're a nonprofit that represents communities of color, and we work to bring equal access to economic opportunities for all. I am also a proud Oakland resident. I had these really great remarks, like really great, prepared. And I was in back rehearsing them, and I looked down the hall, and I saw John Gutierrez. And for those of you who don't know John, he's a really nice guy. He's also the director of regulatory affairs for Comcast. That's really exciting to me, and I'll tell you why. It's really nice that we can invite John in. I don't see him here now. Maybe he's in overflow. But first of all, I think we can appreciate the irony that we can welcome Comcast in here and say, don't tell Comcast where they can and can't go. And Comcast feels that they can tell us where we can and can't go on the internet. Closer, sorry. Second, you know, I've been a telecommunications nerd for a little while now. And one thing I've learned is if you see Comcast show up to an event like this, it means they're scared. So, John, if you're out there somewhere, take a look around. Because A, this is what the open internet looks like. And B, you'll see there's a lot more of us than there are of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Paul Goodman, give it up. Now, let me get Dave Steer. Oh, no, Dave already went. My bad. Let me get Joe Allen from the Media Consortium. Where you at, Joe Allen? All right, give it up. Joe Allen, Media Consortium. We love him.
Hey, everyone. I've got good news for you. I'm speaking on my behalf and also on behalf of Wendy Levy, who couldn't be here. And so I'm going to do her remarks and mine all together. I'm the director of the Media Consortium, and Wendy is the director of the National Alliance for Media Arts and Culture. And we stand with and represent journalists and filmmakers, technologists, and human rights defenders in support of internet freedom. The freedoms that are offered by the web are essential human rights. They're basic freedoms to create, to speak one's mind, to exchange ideas, to access vital information. The open internet is necessary to preserve independent and citizen journalism, unfettered and unfiltered news. If we don't have an open internet, we won't have the information we need to create a strong democracy. The cable companies want the right to control how we access content online, whether it's breaking news, independent films, or Major League Baseball. They'll say anything and do anything to try to make sure they pick and choose which sites get preferential treatment. Well, we have something to tell them. Cable companies, you do not own the internet. No one owns the internet. Do not believe any ISP lobbyist who tells you there's a commercially viable fast lane. That is the voice of corporate greed. They're building the fast lane to end the web as we know it, and we have to stop them. Tom Wheeler and the FCC, we want you to stop delaying, listen to us. We look to you as an independent body, stand up and ensure a free and open internet for all. Join with us and the rest of the American people. Let's show the world that we care about freedom of expression. We won't be compromised and we won't be bought. Woo! Perfect timing. I was told that I have to speak more quietly, so can you still hear me? Awesome. So I'd like to invite up to the mic Ismail Juden from Reddit. Reddit number 4. Reddit. Brother from Reddit, are you here? Ismail. Okay. I'm going to invite Dave P. up from Greenpeace. Are you here, Dave? All right. Excellent. But y'all can be loud. Be louder. Be louder for Dave. Be louder for Dave. Yes.
Thank you. Y'all hear me? Okay, I want everybody to just quickly imagine, let's say it's 5 years from now. It's 2019, and there's a small, scrappy group of environmental activists who invent some really cool new internet-based tools that allow people around the world to identify new sources of pollution, of fracking, of coal plants, and point those out and highlight those. Except maybe that doesn't happen because they can't get access to the same internet that Shell can and Exxon can and Chevron can and the Koch brothers can. And so we don't get that kind of environmental justice. That's why Greenpeace so adamantly supports net neutrality. I'm an energy and climate campaigner. This is sort of a different and fun place for me to be, but what we've come to learn is that the internet is the best, most important tool for communities who are fighting for the environment and communities who are fighting for democracy in this country. If we want to have clean air and clean water, if we want communities of color and low-income communities to be able to fight for their environmental rights, they need first to be able to have rights to the open internet, to the same internet that everybody else has rights to. And we're not going to get that if some of the FCC's current proposals hold sway. So if you care about the environment, or even if you don't, if you just care about our democracy in this country, keep doing what you're doing. Stay active on this issue. Tell the FCC in every way you could possibly imagine that we need Title II protection for the internet. That's the best chance we have for some of these other bigger environmental issues and healthcare and every other issue that we care about as Americans, as citizens of the world, and as people who want a good democracy in this country. Thank you very much.
Yes. And we should all know that the Congress was not able to do the Keystone Pipeline, partially because the internet helped people rebel against that, right? So thank you, Greenpeace, people from Greenpeace. All right. Let's get Tracy Rosenberg from Media Alliance up here. Yes. Yes. We love Tracy. Speak on it, Tracy.
All right, so I'm going to pretend, even though there is no current FCC commissioner with us this evening, I am still going to talk to them because I have faith that somewhere one of them in the middle of the night will watch our little movie that we are making for them. So there's one thing that I could say to those 5 people who will be making this decision. It would be, don't tie your hands behind your back. Don't bind your feet together. Don't give away every tool that you have to do what you're trying to do. Because we know back in 2008, the FCC tried. Okay, they didn't try that hard. But Comcast started blocking, throttling, gatekeeping, doing that stuff that they do so well. And the FCC did, in fact, try to say no. And not only no, but no, and we're going to fine you. They couldn't even do it. They lost in court. And what court said is, you don't have the authority to fine these people. They can do whatever they want. You're a regulatory agency, but you haven't classified them, so you get to tell them what to do. Well, it's time to tell Comcast what to do. When we talk about Title II, which nobody understands, I mean, the people in this room probably understand more about Title II than anybody on the street, but nobody understands what the heck we're talking about. This is what we're talking about. Universal service. And universal service means there's a baseline set of services that everybody gets. It means there's an equality, a basic level playing field, just like a telephone. If you have a telephone, it basically works like everybody else's telephone. Let's face it. This is how landlines were regulated. Now we have all this newfangled garbage, and it's not the same. But what it comes down to is, if we're all depending on it, if we're all using it, if we can't reach each other any other way, ding dong, it's a universal service. And there's no way in heck that a universal service can't be called that. And what we're having in Washington is we're having one of those mind things that go on when something that is a universal service, something that is a public utility, something that we all depend on, is pretending to be something else. And really, it's time for the crap to stop. So there ain't no answer but Title II. And we have to not stop until we get there. No hybrids, no compromises, no delays. Title II now.
Thank you, Tracy. Tracy, come on. Yes, Tracy. Let me bring up Naomi from Noisebridge. Naomi, are you in the house? All right, sister. There you go.
Hello. Hi. I'm glad I heard the phrase level playing field, because that's definitely something I'm going to bring in. But I wanted to focus on generational transfer, because I'm a mother and I'm the granddaughter of the co-inventor of the ENIAC, and one of the women who programmed the ENIAC as well. And I'm pretty sure they weren't heading towards like a future with a supermarket checkout line sort of style media content delivery system. I think they were more interested in my son learning things like how computers work and things like that. I'm jumping ahead of myself.
You got it.
So my generation pioneered the internet in a very American way, with an eye towards equality, opportunity, and a level playing field. Net neutrality is the ethic that we explicitly produced, one that I benefited from, and one that I hope to pass on to my son. The level playing field of the internet makes Wikipedia a digital crowdsourced encyclopedia appear first in most search rankings because it deserves to be. Net neutrality brings videos that answer my toddler's inconvenient questions like, why do geese fly in a V in the middle of the supermarket line, and doesn't force him to watch Dora the Explorer again. We're all now digital natives, and a neutral internet allows us to roam freely, interconnect, grow in scientific knowledge and cultural diversity. Some ISPs now are seeking to parochialize the internet in an insidious way, which restricts conversations, not according to what would enrich us as a society, but what would better line their own pockets. Lowest common denominator ISP-produced content would end up being prioritized over enriching, mind-expanding content. When was the last time you saw a Discover magazine in the checkout line? We value free speech and a free press because we often can't predict what good might come out of any particular conversation. And likewise, none of us can truly predict which types of data lead to better outcomes for our society. These companies, whose highest moral value is the dollar sign, presume to choose the types of speech that we're going to consume. Or they force us to pay more for certain types of speech, which subverts our ethic of equal opportunity and turns it into a way to widen the gap between rich and poor. Net neutrality is an American value. We have a constitution that protects the values that we hold most dear, and this is no different. We want the FCC to ensure that ISPs don't sell our time and attention to the highest bidder. I'm betting that my grandparents would want me to show videos from the Smithsonian and not Kardashian reruns to my child, preferably before he starts throwing raisins at me in the checkout line.
I'd like to invite up Matt from the ACLU. Matt, where you at, brother? There you go. Can you still hear me? Am I talking too loud?
Hey, my name is Matt Cagle from the ACLU of Northern California's Technology and Civil Liberties Project. So I work on both privacy and free speech issues, and thank you to EFF for hosting this event, and thank you for coming out to support free expression on the internet. So it's pretty uncontroversial to everyone here that net neutrality is an issue of free expression. Net neutrality creates the space for the open discourse that is necessary to the functioning of a healthy democracy. So there's that. And preventing fast lanes and discrimination against citizens and other speakers and content producers on the internet, we think, as the ACLU, is one of the most pressing free speech issues in the digital age. So whether it's an organizer's ability to upload video of police misconduct at a protest, or a young startup's ability to create a competitive business that competes against the established players, or three grandmothers who decide to give videotapes smoking weed for the first time, and in a way that can be viewed by millions of people in an uninhibited way. Free speech on the internet is both about the ability to speak, but also the ability to receive that speech. And it's when people must and companies must broker in order to have their free speech heard on the internet. That's the type of situations that we hope the FCC will seek to avoid. And that's the type of situation that good net neutrality policy should avoid. So thanks again to the EFF for having us here. The ACLU supports net neutrality and free speech and free expression on the internet. And thank you for coming out to support the same.
Thank you. And I realized I never introduced myself, did I? Do you know who I am?
Who are you?
My name is Malkia Cyril. I'm with the Center for Media Justice, What? And I'm really proud that the Center for Media Justice and the Media Action Grassroots Network, along with Free Press, Common Cause, and others, Turn, and Media Alliance, are able to co-host this event with EFF. So thank you all. All right. So let's bring up Mel Actually, I'm going to bring up Alec Foster from the Student Net Alliance. Alec, are you here? What's up, Alec? Thank you. Hold on. I didn't feel that.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alec Foster. I am from the Student Net Alliance. I founded it in 2013, and I'm also a native Bay Area resident. I went to school right across the bay in Oakland, California. And my experience as a student and seeing these debates, and especially in the activism world, take fold, and realizing that the student voice was absent from many of these debates is what inspired me to get involved in movements like this, which the internet makes possible for people like me to self-organize around these issues. So, as students and young people, we grew up on the internet, and we rely on the internet for all of these facets of life. It helps us better inform our education, and stretching beyond the limits of any university or higher education, or even in, as we've heard tonight, in grade school. It's incredibly important to the students, not just today, but of the future. And furthermore, this breadth of, as we've seen, collaboration is what is really key about the internet. And it allowed me, to create Student Net Alliance with a network of students that I'd never met before, across our universities, organizing, and none of this would have been possible if we needed permission from the ISPs, from Comcast, who we actively oppose every day. So this is nothing new. We want to codify the pre-existing culture of network management in order to preserve the open internet. Thank you.
Alec gets the award for the briefest, the most brevity. Thank you, Alec. You get that. I'd like to bring up Evan. Evan from Engine Advocacy. Evan, are you in here? All right, can we give it up? Don't get tired. We're going to clap a lot tonight.
Hi, everybody. I'm Evan Engstrom. I'm the policy director for Engine. We're a nonprofit advocacy organization that seeks to promote entrepreneurship. It's important to remember that we're in a world of growing economic inequality. We all grew up with the idea of the American dream. You can start from nothing and create a life for yourself and be successful. I think for a lot of people that hasn't really been a possibility for a long time, and the internet is the best place for that dream to still exist, where you can have a great idea, a little technical know-how, and start a business and create economic opportunity for yourself. And that's at risk right now. Yeah, the government built the internet, but it didn't make the internet. You made the internet. Small companies made the internet. Fandor made the internet. Sonic made the internet, Reddit made the internet, Mozilla made the internet. It's people with a good idea. That's all it took. I mean, the archetypal story of someone in a garage or in a dorm room or in a basement or in a library, just coming with an idea and learning how to program and creating something that changes the world. And that's what we want to preserve. That's what this is about. We want it to be based on your idea and your drive, and not how much money you have to pay a toll or how many lawyers you have or how many lobbyists you have, but just the quality of your idea. And that's really the American dream, and that's the dream of the open internet. And I think it's great that you guys are out here fighting for that. I think it's great that everyone is talking about Title II. It's a matter of dry regulatory authority, but you guys recognize how important it is. And we're close. We're almost there, but we have to keep fighting. And even with net neutrality, the fight's not over. It's about competition. It's about access to the internet. We need more than one provider. We need more than two providers. We need a ton of providers. We need everyone to be able to get online for virtually no cost and create their dream. Thanks.
I'd like to bring up April. EFF, come on up here and talk to the people.
I'm short, so I'll just hold the microphone. Hi, I'm April Glazer. I'm an activist at the Electronic Frontier Foundation. I want to thank the City Hall. I want to thank Jay Nath for providing this forum for us and Malkia for bringing her spirit to this debate as she has for so many years. And I am so grateful for that. Can we get another round of applause for Malkia? Thank you all so much. We had a great rally outside. I want to say I'm an activist at EFF, but that's not where I started being an activist. I started being an activist when I was 15. The police were coming into our public schools, and guess what? I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. They were racial profiling. And we were writing press releases. We were trying to start a campaign about it, but we couldn't get our news, our story on the media. They weren't following our story. So what did we decide to do? We decided to build a radio station and to just tell our own stories and to broadcast our own stories. And you know what else we did? We started websites, right? We started an indie media center in Nashville where we were constantly, every day, multiple times a day, publishing our news, our stories, because corporate media wasn't covering that. Well, net neutrality is a similar threat. If ISPs like Comcast and Verizon do not let activists create the forums that they need to tell their stories, to tell their own news, right, to organize, then we're not going to have the democracy that we have today. The centrality of the internet to all processes of social justice and political change means that if net neutrality or internet openness or technology issues like this, maybe they're not like the most important issue to you, but they should be maybe the second most important issue to you. Because your movement, your issue is not going to be able to have a voice without it. All right, and I want to thank you all so much for coming here, and I look forward to hearing what everyone else has to say.
All right, yes. The threat to internet freedom is a threat to political activism. Thank you. Can we get another round? Yes. And now I'd like to bring up Mel. Mel, number 11. Mel, are you out here, Mel? Where you at? Come on, brother. Yes. You going to do the... Okay, you got it? All right, got you.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, he got you.
I want to talk to you about just how important net neutrality is for me. When I was about 3 or 4, I didn't even know there were other deaf people in the world. I didn't even have a language. But as you look at deaf children now, things are really changing. You see how they're building their confidence, they're becoming more articulate and more able to be themselves in the world. Apple started selling the iSight camera about 2003, and that was the most exciting thing for me because I got a 1.5 megabyte plan for my internet connection. That was when that's how you used to buy things. And within a couple of years, the prices were going higher and higher, but the quality was going lower and lower. And they said, well, you've got to buy a more expensive plan. And so I would do that, but then the quality would go down again. They kept ratcheting me up to this ridiculous plan for what still wasn't a great connection. It was just a ridiculously slow connection by today's standards. At one point, I flew to other countries. I visited Hong Kong and Japan, and their speeds just beat the crap out of ours. And my daughter she's little. She can hear, and she's always asking all these questions. She loves all kinds of animals, and I can use the internet to show her all these things, to talk to her about them in sign language. And so if I wanted to call her school one time to let her know that I was going to be late, I connected through a video connection. We have these set up for deaf people, and I connect through something like, well, if I can get it to start up here real quick. Sorry. So it's ringing, it's connecting, it's connecting. See how slow this is? Why should it be that slow? I'm on the phone trying to tell somebody I'm late. I can't even get it to make the connection. So, in order to have this connection as quickly as I should, as quickly as any phone call is, I'm going to have to pay more and more and more, and that can't happen. It's a form of discrimination that we can't allow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. A form of discrimination that we can't allow. I want you to remember that, because that's what the FCC is currently debating, whether or not they can allow certain types of discrimination, whether or not certain things are commercially reasonable. I would like you to remember what this brother said the next time you hear someone say that some forms of discrimination are reasonable. I'd like to bring up Rohan. Rohan. Thank you, Rohan. Come on up, brother. I stole your microphone, brother.
Hi, my name is Rohan Narayan, and I'm a senior at Irvington High School down in Fremont, California. So I'm currently... I'm currently involved with the Media Alliance and Ms. Rosenberg to help spread awareness about the evolving issue of net neutrality. So the internet is a tool that I use every day, and I use it for everything, for news, for storage, and for entertainment. Even school itself is on the internet. I can learn anything from Khan Academy or watch anything on YouTube. Teachers have their gradebooks online, and they can use any online resources to contact their students. Net neutrality affects us all. We need access to the internet to be something that is certain, not something that's in doubt. Accessibility cannot be in doubt, yet it is. ISPs are trying to make a tiered internet, one where all data is not treated equally. This proposed system affects everybody. We cannot afford a society where a private company decides what content we consumers get to see. Last Monday, we saw President Obama call for the reclassification of internet under Title II. I applaud his sentiment, although nothing can be done without the FCC's approval. It seems as if the only way to solve this issue once and for all is to reclassify so that the government can make sure ISPs aren't regulating the internet. When I told my English teacher that I was volunteering for the Media Alliance about net neutrality, he didn't know what it was. He had no clue what net neutrality was. And that's part of the problem. We need to spread awareness and make sure everybody gets to know about how this affects them and what it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We got our students out here. I love to hear from our students, don't you? Don't you? Mm-hmm. I'd like to bring up Roy. Roy, Brother Roy, are you here? All right. Come on, testify. Let us know.
Hello, everyone. Am I on?
Yeah.
My name is Roy Nierenberg, and I am a software developer, and I sell my products on the internet. So when the issue came up, I knew I wanted to speak here, and I wanted to speak to the FCC. Before I developed software, though, I was a regulatory lawyer, and I was offered a job out of law school at the FCC and the Federal Power Commission. I chose the Federal Power Commission, went one way, but I might have taken the FCC and then had an inside scoop on this. But I think based on the experience and the effect it has on me, I definitely think the reclassification under Title II is the way to go. And I will be very short. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think Rohan, is that right? What's your name? What's it? Roy. I think Roy gets the award for brevity. Thank you, Roy. Appreciate you. Can I get Murray? Murray, are you here? Murray? All right, Murray. Can we give it up for Murray? Come on, brother. Thank you.
This might be the shortest.
Okay, let's see. Let's see. The contest.
I feel very passionate that we keep the internet because I really feel that it is very critical to our democracy. And I want to thank the EFF, and I want to thank Free Press, and also my total devotion to Mike Michael Kopp has been fantastic. He has been on the forefront. I have been to so many of the FCCs, as many as they have in the Bay Area, and I can assure you that Michael Kopp has been there. He's been there at many of the associations, and he has spoken out, and he's a wonderful speaker. And we need more people passionate and dedicated as much as Free Press, the EEE, and other organizations that realize how critical the internet is. Today, we were very fortunate that KPFA had Michael Kopp on, and we also had a very important person on in the afternoon on KPFA, and it was Susan Crawford. Susan Crawford is a professor at Harvard University, and she was once an assistant. She was the assistant advisor to the president on science and technology. And if anybody knows and understands the internet and how critical it is, she does, and she speaks out. So I just would like to mention that Tom Wheeler came from an organization that was actually supported by the ISPs. He was loaded with money, and he also was in the organization that actually lobbied a lot for the internet, for the ISPs. And if you want to look at what's happening now, the very person that Bush appointed, who was actually Michael Powell in the early 2000, that was in the FCC chairman, and lo and behold, there was Tom Wheeler and the lobbyist. Now they switch roles. You've got Tom Wheeler, chairman of the FCC, and you have Michael Powell now in the very job that he had lobbying. So I can't say how critical it is that we stay organized, that we have good people. We have 4 million notified the FCC, so we have the information getting out there. So stay dedicated and stay in your effort to help, please.
Can we get a little more for this brother? Yes. That's good. It's hard to get up here and testify. We want to give him all the love we can. Let me get Julian. Is Julian here? I'm so glad you're here, Julian. No, come on, give it up for Julian. You want this one? Come on over here. But let me just put this down now.
Good evening. My name's Julian McCassie. I've been on the net officially since 1987, and before that on and off on ARPANET. I've seen it change, and I've seen it change when it was several small ISPs that supplied you with what you want. They knew what they were talking about. They didn't charge you too much, and they were behind you. You could have your own mail server. Most people today, am I on the mic? Yeah. Most people today, they don't use an ISP mail server. They use Gmail or Hotmail or something like that. So basically, all that independence is gone. You're basically using a mail service that is looking at your mail, maybe, who knows. If you wanted to put up a server of any kind, just serving files or maybe even, kiddie videos or anything, you could do it on your own machine. Basically, now we talk about the cloud, where we're talking about just 2 or 3 companies are going to be holding all the data, rather than you hold your own data where you are the cloud. You are your mail server, if you want. Or you can go to a small independent ISP like Sonic, and they will take care of it for you. And if you have a problem, you can talk to them on the phone. So that's how much the net has changed. It's become more expensive, and it's become less accessible. You're now dealing with just a couple of companies, if you think about it. And that, as far as I'm concerned, is a bad thing. It's a bad thing because when you're just dealing with a monopoly, you get what a monopoly will give you, which is what they think you deserve. Thank you very much. And a final comment, it used to be called the information superhighway. It's become the information dirt road.
All right, that's true. What did he said, Julian? You said if you say it again. If you allow a monopoly, say that one more time. I like that.
If you allow a monopoly to take charge, they'll give you what they think you need.
That's it. Okay. If you're tweeting, tweet that because that's powerful. Let me bring up Steve. Steve. Come on, Steve. Where you at? There you at, baby. Okay. Can we give it up for Steve?
Yeah.
Go stand over there so everybody can see you. Come on.
Okay, so I'm going to try and be brief here. Like our previous speaker, I've also been around the net for a while. I first got online in 1978. My dad brought home a TI thermal writer with an acoustic coupler modem, and that's basically all it took, and I was just totally hooked ever since then. I first got on the ARPANET in 1984. So I grew up like some of you here, and maybe younger people certainly wouldn't remember, but I grew up under a telecom monopoly. I remember what it was like when you couldn't own your own phone. It was hardwired into the wall by the phone company. They told, the technician came in and he gave you the amount of cord that he thought you needed. So you had to stand not just in a room, but in the particular part of the room that they thought was best for the phone company. And so I grew up under one phone monopoly, and I don't want to kind of get older under another. Because like probably the greatest thing that happened, basically everything that we have now, think about everything that you've had, everything we've had over the past 20 years came pretty much from the breakup of the phone company. Because they owned everything, you couldn't own a modem unless you paid a ridiculous amount of money. A 56K line, which is ridiculously slow now, probably what a lot of you had in like 1995, 1996, and were complaining about back then, that was like thousands of dollars a month. And yeah, things have gotten worse in recent years, but they've just, the fact that we're here talking about this, that people are tweeting about it, that you have the internet on your phone, that I can still host things at home. I have actually do have a dedicated service. I have a slow DSL line because they allow me to have a server, and I have static IPs, and I can just basically do what I want. And to me, that is the 21st century equivalent of the printing press, and I'm not giving up my printing press. And the other thing that I wanted to be really quick, I'm just going to be really quick about is that network neutrality is a global phenomenon. I have worked with spent a lot of my own time and money with various NGOs over the past 10 years, setting up networks, teaching people about networking in developing countries, and everywhere I've gone, they either had or were getting ready to get rid of their state-owned telecom monopoly. Most countries outside of the US, telecommunications is owned by the Post and Telegraph Office. And places in Africa, all over Africa, they're disbanding the state-owned telecom monopoly in Ghana, in Tanzania, in Malawi. In South Asia, in India, it used to be illegal to own a wireless card because there were some really old laws about like owning radios and how strong a transmitter that you had. Now you can own wireless. This is like, basically Wi-Fi was illegal. Now it's not. Even places as small and tiny as Papua New Guinea got rid of their telecom monopoly in 2010, partially because they get it, because the people there are underprivileged, and just being able to communicate with each other. And the governments, they get it. They either can't afford it, or they've got lots of competition from this global marketplace that we live in that wants to come in. And so network neutrality is a global thing, and we need to stay on the bandwagon.
Yes. All right. Thank you. All right. Stay on the bandwagon. Stay on it. Because now is the time. Can I get Jude? Jude, are you here? All right. I love it. Come on, give it up for Jude. Give Jude some love.
Thank you very much. So I come to you this evening in my capacity as a San Francisco public educator. And I first of all want to give big ups to Rohan over here for coming up and speaking in front of everybody. You try getting a high school student to stand in front of a group of people and give any kind of cogent presentation, and you will get some sort of public education award, for sure. But let me describe a scenario really fast, and I'll promise I'll be quick. O'Connell High School here in the Mission, freshman class of about 200 people when I first started teaching. The senior class is 50 students. That means that 25% of the students actually make it to their senior year, and Their dropouts are the result of incompetent teachers and incompetent bureaucracy, a white male supremacist education system that fills their heads with lies, devalues their culture, and eventually pushes them out onto the street and into prison. It is a tragedy whose magnitude is unfathomable. But you know what engages them in the classroom, and I know this as an educator? Cell phones. They love cell phones, and they're not just Snapchatting, they're not just Facebooking and Instagramming. They're actually communicating with the world and the world of ideas. They're learning, they're growing, they're sharing, and it's incredibly important that they can do so freely. That's why we need Title II restrictions to be applied to wireless communications wholesale. There you go. Thank you.
All right. So we're talking about mobile equity. Can we hear that? Can you say mobile equity? Try again. Mobile equity. That means that no matter if you get online from a cell phone, a tablet, or a computer, your line is protected. Mobile equity. We got it. Let me get Chris. Chris, where you at? Give it up. Chris, come on up here and testify for us, brother. Speak to the people.
Hi, my name is Christopher McManus. I'm a writer for Project Censored. Project Censored is one of the longest running media analysis groups in the United States. For over 40 years, Project Censored has reported on the stories that the corporate media has ignored, misrepresented, or completely censored. We also analyze what we call corporate junk food news, or news abuse. And we also highlight organizations that exemplify media democracy in action, such as EFF, Media Alliance, Center for Media Justice. And we actively investigate the gatekeepers of the media and the industry consolidation of media. Now, how would we fare? And when I say we, I'm talking about EFF, Media Alliance, Project Censored. How would we fare if net neutrality was lost? As Julian puts it so eloquently, on the internet highway, while the corporate media would enjoy the diamond lane, we would be relegated to a dirt road. Project Censored supports Title II. We're against any blocking, any throttling, any slow lanes, any paid prioritization. Project Censored is for transparency and free speech. Project Censored is keenly concerned with censorship in this country. Net neutrality disallows discrimination on the internet, and thank you for helping us eliminate censorship in the United States. Thank you.
Give it up for Project Censored. Yes. A censored story. Ferguson. It took 1 million tweets before mainstream media covered it. Net neutrality. Let's bring up Lawrence. Lawrence, are you here, Lawrence? Yes, thank you, Lawrence. You got that one? Make sure.
My name is Lawrence Baskett. I am a mechanical engineer who only knows obsolete programming languages. I was a science and technology policy fellow in Sacramento recently, and I'm also a political blogger, and so I'm going to kind of talk from that voice. And I'm going to start with a joke. It's something that Tom Wheeler posted on the FCC blog in April, and here it is. If the proposal before us now turns out to be insufficient, or if we observe anyone taking advantage of the rule, I won't hesitate to use Title II.
That's the joke.
That's the joke. The second point is that the courts have already ruled in the Verizon case that you can't hack net common carrier. You have to actually do common carrier under Title II. And lastly, you have already paid your ISP for your internet access. When you pay for a plan, it tells you how much data you're going to get at what speed, and so therefore charging for content is double charging, and we shouldn't stand for it. Thank you.
Tweetable moment. Tweetable moment. You can't hack Title II. You actually have to do Title II. I love it. Can I get Evan? Where's Evan at? Come on up, Evan. Come on up, Evan. Give Evan love. Yes.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Evan Savage. I'm an independent software developer. But who I am is not important. What's important is a message. A simple message that should by now be a common refrain, because we've heard it from 4 million people. Net neutrality is free speech. We need a regulatory framework that recognizes the fundamentally participatory nature of the internet. It's not like cable TV. It's somewhat more accurate to say it's like telephone, but I'd almost go further and say, so one person here likened it to the printing press. It's like the printing press, like the advent of agriculture. It represents a real leap forward for our civilization. It's also true, what we know this because people like Google and Yahoo, big powerful companies with lots of money, have done the studies to show us quantifiably a slower internet is a less usable internet. Less usable not just for me and my clients and for the people in this room, but for everyone. For all these reasons, we need Title II, we need it now, and we all need to keep fighting for this so that the internet remains free and open for everyone. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, brother. We got 2 more people to hear from. Let's hear from Lindsay. Lindsay, are you here? All right, come on. Yes. You want this one? There you go, brother.
Almost everything has been covered adequately by many people. The one thing to emphasize, if you watch this debate unfolding in the major media, you'll see the thing that the talking heads from the other side, the Gucci lawyers, etc., they don't, they always harp on this, and the major media, it serves as no check, that the ISPs can charge more already for streaming and so on. You can, if you need a T3 line, you have to pay through your nose for AT&T. Or if you're hosting service, if like I have 10 websites, and so when I need more speed for certain websites, I pay an upcharge for that. But the major media never, when they are talking about why should they have to pay, why should they be throttled by large bandwidth sites, large bandwidth sites always pay an upcharge, usually through their hosting service or something else. And so that's neglected, and mention that to your friends, because their sound bites sometimes sound credible, and this is another revenue stream that they're looking for to violate net neutrality. And so in the debate, I'd hope everybody reminds people that there is other source of revenue that they get for higher bandwidth. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. All right, and for our final speaker in this testimony, I want to bring up Cisna. How do I do this? Cinsa. Cinsa, where's Cinsa at? Cinsa, yes. Come on up here. All right. So happy to have you. Come on.
Hi, my name is Cinsa Benoris. I'm a member of the G11 from the WELL, the Whole Earth Electronic Link.
Yeah.
The WELL's been around since 1985, when it was established as a bulletin board service that you used to have to dial into using your phones. There was no connection to the internet with the WELL at that point, except through a Gopher server. You used to be able to connect to a Gopher server, like a tiny little straw that you would sip through. You could access sort of libraries, just indexes of libraries. So if you imagine, the internet as being sort of a stripped down version of just the indexes, the card catalogs of libraries, that was the internet. Otherwise, you would speak to just local, people, in Sausalito the machines were, and you would just, dial in, and you would talk to just people around. And then, of course, we established a connection to the internet, and all of a sudden, it blew up. You could talk to people all over the world. It was fantastic. It was, opening the world up. But now I'm imagining, without Title II protection, a future where people have these little ponds, and you have to pool your resources. Once again, you're stuck again in this little pool, and you have to, have that sipping through the straw again. You no longer have the ability to open up the world. You have to sip through that tiny straw that you can afford. Poor communities especially. Schools have to sip through that tiny straw because we don't have the protection. So we really need net neutrality. Otherwise, we're once again reduced to straw sipping.
When I say media, you say justice. Media. 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 Justice. Now, we need to make sure they can hear us because they don't really do a lot of listening, do they? No. So, I don't really do little, events. I like to march. You know what I mean? I like to take direct action. That's what I like to do. So what I want to do real quick, just touch the person next to you, not in a funny way, in a nice, gentle way. Put your hand on their shoulder. Go ahead, put your hand on their shoulder. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid. Let your gender be free right now. Give them a hug. Because this is what the internet feels like. This is what the internet feels like. This is what the internet feels like. This is what it feels like. We are not alone. We are not alone. And what we need to walk away with tonight, what I want you to walk away with tonight, is a sense and a real understanding that we are about, 50 people, 40 people? How many people do you think are in here? 60? I don't know. And there were 200 approximately of us outside, right? And we had a beautiful accident, right, where we joined together with folks protesting around the slain and missing Mexican students. And that is exactly what happens online, is it not? People's voices are raised because they are together. They are amplified in a way that ordinarily they never would be. Our issues, from the Keystone Pipeline to the immigration debate, a broken immigration system that is slowly, painstakingly being repaired, a broken criminal justice system that has been amplified and shown for what it is in Ferguson, right? So whether we're talking about our environment, our criminal justice system, or our immigration system, online we get to speak up. Online we get to talk back. And we translate that from the internet to the street. And that's where it makes a difference. What happens online is one part, but it's because it begins there and ends on the street, or begins in the street and ends online. It is the relationship between the two that is lost when we lose net neutrality. So I want to bring up our last and final beautiful moment. My sister Jennifer Johns, my loved one, who is going to bring to you, I hope what you hear in this next and last moment is what you lose. What you lose if independent artists cannot promote and engage online. What do you lose? Think about it. not, my friends, is it. It's time to heal the world. Let's go out and make that happen. Title II, net neutrality, right now. Call the FCC. Let's do it. Can we do it? Can we do it? Are you ready? All right, let's go.